2 years ago, my wife and I sold our house that we raised our kids in and lived in for over 15 years. And since then, we have been extreme minimalists. If it's not absolutely necessary for survival, we don't buy it. I'm kidding. I am what I would call a comfortable minimalist sense, or a practical minimalist. My wife and I have found the joys of owning less and enjoying more opportunities and activities that don't cost a lot of money, and enjoying the freedom of owning fewer things. Let's go for a walk and I'll share a little over a half a dozen of the things we no longer buy that save us a lot of time, save us a lot of money, and you know what? We don't miss them at all. Let's go for a walk and talk about it. Okay, the first one, and what I call enemy number one, and I suspect it's enemy number one in a lot of households. And I'm a big fan of the company and the services, but Amazon is enemy number one when it comes to buying things that we don't need, right? I mean, we used to have cardboard boxes showing up at our house at least once a day, buying all kinds of stuff that we didn't need. And, you know, once the kids headed off to college and we no longer had the house, we had spent so much time decluttering our house and giving away stuff and selling some things and finding other people that could use the stuff we had bought. And it just made us realize, you know, how much of this stuff do we really need? So we're much more practical when we go on Amazon now. In fact, I try to get on Amazon, buy what I need, what I jumped on Amazon for, and get off as soon as I can. And you know what? The fewer cardboard boxes that arrive at my house, the happier I am. It's kind of the inverse Amazon correlation. So that's the first one. And be sure to stay to the end, because this is kind of going up. So it's going to become bigger and bigger items that have brought me and my wife more joy by not having to worry about these things, not having to take care of stuff. So let's keep going. Another thing we do instead of buying stuff is we spend quality time together, both my wife and I, but also, you know, separately. We have our own separate lives. So, you know, and instead of maybe buying something and, oh, here's the latest gizmo, you know, we'll go for a hike. I'm lucky I live in a ski town. So we'll go for a hike up in the mountains or a bike ride into town to get a bagel and a coffee. I find myself more and more, instead of going out for expensive dinners with my friends, you know, I really enjoy seeing my friends more often, seeing more friends, but just going out for coffee instead of dinner. In my town, restaurants are expensive. And you know, I think the entire United States is finding they have fewer employees, so the service, they just can't give the same level of service. So it ends up being a whole evening that you spend. And oftentimes, it's a heck of a lot more fun to just sit across the table with a warm cup of coffee in your hand and catch up with your friend or spend time with your spouse. One of my kids lives in Seattle. Another thing my daughter and I and my wife and I and some friends and I enjoy doing is just taking a ferry ride. You know, they use ferries in Seattle and also in San Francisco, almost like a lot of towns would use buses, you know, to get from point A to point B. And, you know, certainly in the Bay Area, boy, there's from downtown San Francisco, my oldest daughter lives in San Francisco, or outside of San Francisco. You know, catching a ferry from downtown San Francisco to Tiburon, which is on the other side of the bay, boy, it's just beautiful. You go by Alcatraz, you've got a beautiful view of the Golden Gate Bridge. And I think, what is it, $5 to do something like that. So simpler things like ferry rides. Another thing, at fancier restaurants, at more expensive restaurants, you know, during the week, my wife and I will just go out for dessert. You know, we don't need the whole meal and everything else. It's just a nice way to spend an hour together, 45 minutes together, have a good conversation, reconnect, be at a place with nice ambiance, leave a nice tip. But you know, we don't need 2 meals and you know, the 3-hour experience. We're happy with just dessert. So that's another thing that we've done. And with our couple friends, and our couple friends are always like, I didn't know you could do that. Really? You can come in just for dessert? sometimes you might want to call if you think the restaurant's busy, but if the restaurant's not busy, they're happy to do that. Another simple pleasure, my youngest daughter really likes painting pottery. The problem is we don't want to have a lot of pottery around the house, but we'll go, and oftentimes families will go and do something like that and they kind of rush through it. It's a great conversation time for my youngest daughter and I. So we'll go and paint pottery, or more precisely, she paints pottery, and I talk to her while she's doing it. So it's these simple pleasures. Okay, I've got some other ones that are going to move the needle more than what I've talked about so far. If you're enjoying the video so far, give me a like, as the kids say, thumbs for likes and subs for love. And think about leaving me a comment. I love reading the comments. Okay, let's keep going. Another one is monthly subscriptions. I think we're all guilty of this, right? How many monthly subscriptions do we have? Now, in my family's case, we're pretty generous with the monthly subscriptions. Like, we have a Netflix subscription, and we have a Hulu subscription. And as long as we're watching it, that's great. I'm happy to, it's not that much money. It's $5 or $10 a month for those. But what we don't do is sign up where you can have 3 or 4 users simultaneously. As parents, we always want our kids talking to each other. And I think the most common reason that my daughters call each other to chit chat is one of them saying, hey, how much longer are you going to be on Hulu? Because there's a show I want to watch. So we only sign up for one member, and that forces us to communicate more than maybe what we would otherwise. What else here? Spotify, we used to subscribe to that, but Pandora is kind of like using AOL for your email. A lot of young kids are like, what's Pandora? But you know what? For me, Pandora is almost as good as Spotify, probably pretty darn close. So my wife and I don't have Spotify. My oldest daughter pays for her own Spotify. She's about to lose that student discount, so we'll see if she keeps doing that. Let's see, Apple TV. We don't subscribe anymore to Apple TV. We found we just weren't watching it, so we canceled it. And the other thing is, there's some apps. My wife has a hiking app. My wife loves to walk. And that app is $50 a year. But you know what? My wife gets so much joy from using that app that, that's money well spent. So we keep doing that. So we keep track of our monthly subscriptions. The ones that are bringing joy in our life, we keep. The other ones we get rid of. The last thing I'll share on the whole streaming service, the Netflix, the Hulu thing, is we have a small television in our house. I think it's a flat screen, but it's 32 or 34 inches. And friends come over, and sometimes they'll kid with us. Is like, oh my goodness, I haven't seen a small TV like this in a number of years. But what I ask them is, do you ever find yourself at the end of the year thinking, boy, I really wish I'd watched more television this year? Or it's December and you're thinking about your goals for the coming year. I don't think any of us has ever said, I want to watch more television. So frankly, a smaller television makes it a little less convenient, and we're more likely to be going outside. Okay, a couple more things that I think is helpful. When we sold our house, I was shocked at how much clothes that I had. I mean, I had a ton of clothes, and I would have never said that I had a ton of clothes, but I had a closet full of clothes. We had clothes in storage. We had clothes coming out of the wazoo. And now, for myself, I have five or 7 pairs of slacks, a couple for work, a couple for casual, a couple for super casual, probably have a dozen shirts, maybe 15, where before it was probably, I hate to say it, but probably 100. So after going through that experience and collecting all my clothes and saying, oh my goodness, I still have all of these clothes, I'm much less likely to buy a ton of clothes. So, and that saves us money as well. One that I've talked about on my channel a lot is new cars. My wife and I don't buy new cars. This is, if cars are your thing, you do you. But the average American spends $900 a month on transportation. Now that includes your car payment, insurance, gasoline, stuff like that. But, you know, I think for a lot of us, we could buy a used car that's 3 or 4 years old, super nice, and maybe save $300-400 a month, which can, you know, quickly become $5,000, particularly if you're looking at $5,000 a year, if you're looking at 2 cars in the family. And think about what an extra $5,000 saved or more could do for you and your family. So that's another one, is the whole car thing. Again, this is not prescriptive. Sorry, just dropped my notes. This is not prescriptive. You do you. Okay. And then the one that I think is going to save you the most money, and I should have mentioned it earlier, so thanks. You get this reward for sticking around. The thing that's going to save you the most money is avoiding making bad investments. You know, you're watching a TV show and somebody says, you know, this is a great company, you should invest in this company. And they're really smart and articulate, and you think, yeah, I'm going to do that. You know what? That can cost you thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars. Don't do that. If you're going to invest in individual companies, do your research. Know that, you know, it's probably at least 5 hours a week, I think, if you're going to own an individual company, probably more. You know, I work as a fee-only financial advisor. We have an investment team, and they're putting it, you know, this is what they do. They eat, breathe, and sleep researching stocks. So really easy to lose a lot of money very quickly if you don't have time to do the research. And I think most of us don't have time to do the research. So if you like this video, I know you're going to like this video up here where I talk about why I'm frugal. It's kind of a part 2 to this. And then this video over here is one of my most popular videos. It's 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. Thanks for watching. I'm Azul. Bye-bye.